Hi, ladies. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I have some ladies here live that are joining me. Thank you for coming. And for all the people here on the Zoom, I appreciate you being here and coming. I don't know where you're from. You can put in the chat where you're joining us from. We have some people from New York, I see, here in Eretz Israel. I don't know where the rest of you are from, but please feel free to invite other people to join us. You can send the link to your friends, and Bezat Hashem, there will be a recording. So we'll be able to share that as well. So I just want to start saying that really this is such an auspicious time. Like, people think that this time period is like, let me just get this over with, you know, like I just want to be done, like this Avelis, this mourning, you know, period. I don't want to really be mourning and sad, and you know, it's just very heavy time period. And now we're starting Rosh Chodesh Av. We're going to be starting the 9 days where the restrictions of the 3 weeks are even stronger. And we're just like I don't want to feel this heaviness. And I want to share with you a story that I read about a woman who was sharing this, you know, concept of that this is so difficult right now. This is so hard. But she said that, you know, instead of just getting past it and like running away from it, she decided that she was going to utilize it for the good. And this is why. And this also will bring us to what this year is all about today. I just want to dedicate the shiur should be Leilu Nishmat, my grandfather whose yahrzeit was yesterday, Shalom Ben Sarah, Henishmato Began Eden, and it should be Melitz Yosher and everyone and all of us, Bezrat Hashem. And to my aunt, Allegra Bat Mazal, Henishmata Began Eden. Tonight is going to be her yahrzeit. It should be a zchut and a refuah shlema for Yosef Azriel Ben Michal Chana. Michal, I think it's Michal Chana, I'm not sure, but it should be a zchut for refuah shlema lahavdil, and also for Mayam Bat Devora Adasa, Alter Shimon Ben Miriam, and Toch Shar Cholei Amo Yisrael, Bezrat Hashem Yeshua, for everybody that's here. Everybody should gain from this. Everybody should, you know, feel that this should bring them Yeshuot Bezrat Hashem. Sorry? Okay, sorry, somebody was unmuted. If you could please just keep yourself muted, I appreciate it. So this lady was thinking, like, I can't get over it. I can't live with this. This is too much heaviness. It's too much mourning. But she was saying that it put things in perspective when she had to go through fertility treatment. And she went through a fertility treatment, one after the next, until this final one, which she thought, I don't even remember what number it was, but it was a number of them. And she thought this was going to be it. And there were such high hopes and so many tefillos. A lot of us know people who are going through, you know, this pain of not having children, so hard, so difficult. Lo aleinu, we should know from this, and everybody should be zocheh to banim, zcharim, kedoshim, teorim, bezrat Hashem, beautiful families. And so she was saying she had such high expectations. She was so excited. And then they went and it didn't go through. And it was just like such a big disappointment. It was such, you know, such a loss of what could have been. And she was saying that it was a little bit after that time that it was the 3 weeks. And she usually just feels like, I just want to get past this already. And she said, no, you know, she realized this pain that she was going through, the expectation and the yearning and the wanting something so badly and then not having it. And she realized this is what Hashem is going through. The Bet HaMikdash, the place where we can come, that was a makom for all walks of life, for all Jews, even non-Jews would come and they would bask in the glory of it. It was such a comforting place to be. And yet we don't have that anymore. And what do we have? Anybody who has any tragedy, any loss, anything that they're missing in their life, it's all due to the fact that we're in Galut. We are in exile. We don't have the Bet HaMikdash. We don't have a place that we can call our home. Yes, we have the Western Wall, the Kotel HaMaravi, Baruch Hashem, we have, you know, Yerushalayim, there is places, but thank you for coming. We don't have the building that stood for Kedusha and Tahara. And it's not only a building, I'm sorry, I should say, it was a tremendous place of yearning and wanting to be close to Hashem and being able to feel it in that place. And she just started realizing, this woman, that this sorrow and sadness that she felt from not having, what she yearned for, to be able to have a child, she was able to now understand the tsar, the pain of the Shekhinah. She was able to understand the sorrow and the pain and the loss of what we don't have. How many of us think about that during the 3 weeks when we're just trying to get by, keeping our kids busy? There are some camps that are running, some camps that are not, it's over now. It's almost, the end of it, and people are all on vacation, everyone's going on, and we're waiting for this to end, Do we really think about this time period of what we're supposed to be doing to better ourselves, to feel the pain of another, to feel the pain of the Shekhinah, which is a higher level, to feel the pain of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of how much he yearns and wants to give us everything that we want and we're waiting for. He yearns to do that, and yet he's so in pain. And we think about it, Hashem destroyed the Bet HaMikdash. He really destroyed the stones, right? He destroyed the structure, the wood and the stones and all the things inside, but really it was much more than that. Really, Hashem was wanting to take out his wrath on us, and he had rachmanut, he had mercy. He didn't want to take it on us. So we look at it as an act of oh my gosh, maybe anger of Hashem. Hashem's upset at us. We should be like this, we should be like that. But really it was out of rachamim, it was out of mercy. This chodesh that we're entering now should be a chodesh tov, b'sorot tovot. It's the chodesh of menachem av, a father who's comforting us. Menachem otanu. He yearns to want us to be close to him, and he wants to give us. He wants us to have it, and yet we still don't have it. That's kol dor she'bet hamikdash eino nivna. Every generation that the Bet HaMikdash is not rebuilt, ke'ilu hichrivu, right? It's as if the people themselves have destroyed it. Us, this generation. How can we say that? Because we're living in a time of such uncertainty. And we're living in a time of, unfortunately, judgment. And where we have sin'ah, unfortunately, we still are guilty of sinat chinam, because we haven't rectified it yet. We haven't yet, understood what it means to care for somebody else. Kamocha, as you do for yourself. It begins with oneself. It begins with understanding that I matter, that I count. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we're always in self-criticism. We're always in, looking negatively at ourselves. Well, I should have done that. I could have done that. Why didn't I do this? And, why didn't I say that? And why, I was just talking to somebody about this. It's, this guilt that we carry. And really, everyone say, oh, guilt, it's a Jewish concept. It's not. It really is not. We don't believe in guilt. We believe in charata, in regret, which is a step of tshuva. It's a step towards coming closer. Lashuv el Hashem. Tshuva, the shoresh, the root word is to return to Hashem. So part of that process is having regret. Oh, I didn't do something right. But the next process is not beating yourself up. It's actually rectifying it, right? It's saying vidui, it's confessing, right? Charata vidui, azdivat achet, leaving the sin. First you have to stop doing what you're doing, regretting it, and then doing tshuva, the vidui process, confession, and then Bezrat Hashem, what Rambam says, when you reach a level, when you're at the same stage, and you're able to have that same test, that same challenge, and you overcame it, then your tshuva was accepted, right? Halavai, we should all be zocha to feel that way. But so that's the step. So what do we carry? Instead, we carry guilt and shame, and we think, I was just telling someone, I was telling you that, I went to a retreat, and I we're all doing our healing. We're talking about this guilt and shame, and there was an elderly woman there, and she must have maybe been in her 70s. Or so, for sure, like a grandmother. And she was talking about her pain that she carried about her mother. and her shame that she had from her mother. Could you imagine? I looked at her and I was so sad. I was like, she's carrying this for so many years. She's in her 70s or maybe more. I don't even know her age exactly. The point was, it's like, to carry that guilt and that shame and that pain for so long. That's not what Hashem wants from us. Hashem wants us to feel that feeling of like, oh, I didn't do something right, and to rectify it, do something about it, take action, cleanse yourself. Really, these 3 weeks are 21 days, and they're synonymous with the 21 days from Rosh Hashanah until Hoshana Rabbah. Those are 21 days as well. So Chazal tell us they're both days of tshuva, but interestingly enough, this time period is the tshuva mi'ahava, right? We are now, mi'ira actually. This is a time period where we're having charata. We spoke about this a little bit. The word of regret that we use when we say aval. I could have done that, aval, but, right? I could have done this, but I didn't, but I didn't, but I should have, I could have. That regret is part of the same shoresh of the word avelut, mourning, right? When we're mourning, we're having regret. When we lose somebody, right? We think, oh, I wish I would have had more time. I wish I could spend more time and tell them how much I love them. I wish I had that preciousness of time to be able to share and to give, right? The shir should be also Leilu Nishmat. Yitzchak David, Nishmata Began Eden, she was tzadeket, always doing chesed for others. And Hashem should have an aliyah, and she'd be Melitz Yosher for us and bring us Mashiach, Bezrat Hashem. So this feeling of like, I wish I could have, right? Really, we're supposed to feel this feeling during these 3 weeks, what we could have had. So I want to share with you is what was going on during the time of the Bet HaMikdash. And I went through the different nisim that we had during the time of the Bet HaMikdash. We know that the Shiva Asar B'Tammuz started the destruction, right? The breach of the walls of Yerushalayim. And slowly, it got worse until the house was burning on Tisha B'Av. We actually talk about the burning, and we'll see how instead of the mourning process getting more severe, we end up stopping the mourning in the middle of the day of Tisha B'Av. We get up, we sit on seats, we don't sit on the floor anymore. At night, we sit on the floor, right? We sit like mourners, we're fasting. We're supposed to not have the pleasures of this world, not to fast and not to wash ourselves and bathe ourselves and all the things that have to do with a mourner. And then we get up in the middle of the day, right? And we start cleaning our houses, making our meals. Then we're allowed to pray a little differently. Things are more lenient. And you would think like the house of the Beit HaMikdash was burning during that time. The restrictions should be even harsher. But yet, the restrictions are less. And we spoke about this a little bit, that really Tisha B'Av is a moed. It's like the beginning of a Yom Tov, like a moed. It's a special occasion. And instead of the mourning getting progressively worse, it's getting easier because we said, Menachem Av, Hashem is not taking out his anger on us. He wants us to come back to him. And the Rambam says the whole point of Avelut, the whole point of a fast day when we're mourning, we're sad, really on Tisha B'Av, we don't say Tachanun, we don't say Slichot, things that we usually say on a fast day, because it's a special day that's going to bring us to the next stage, the celebration, which the culmination of it is the 15th of Av, right? When the people in the Midbar stop dying, Tu B'Av is a big day of celebration. It says it's higher even than Yom Kippur. It's a build up to be able to get to that. And we start that even on Tisha B'Av itself. That's just going to show the power of the day. But going back to the beginning, when we said that the beginning of the 3 weeks, the regret of what is it that we're regretting? So I wanted to share with you a little bit of what was going on during the time that we had the Beit HaMikdash, okay? It says that no woman ever lost her child. Women were able to have their labor and go straight, smooth. It says that the basal, the meat, didn't rot, right? It stayed the holy meat, the meat of the Beit HaMikdash, it wouldn't go bad. There were no flies in the Beit HaMikdash. There were so many korbanot, so many sacrifices. There were no flies. The flames of the korbanot where they burnt it, it didn't go all over the place and make smoke and disgusting smell. It went straight up. It went straight up the shrine to show the acceptance of the korbanot. It says that the Kohen Gadol is always b'kedusha. The atzei maracha were never extinguished. The amud ha'esh, like I said, went straight up. There was no wind. There was no blemish in the shtei lechem and in the omer. Everything was b'kedusha, and it stayed b'kedusha. It says that the people, when they came to the Beit HaMikdash, you can imagine how many people were coming into the Beit HaMikdash, right? From everywhere, right? Kibbutz Galileo, it's all everywhere. It says whenever they would stand, right? And then they would bend over. Usually when somebody bends over, you need more room, more space. They were able to have enough room. There was space for them to stand. It says, Omdim tzfufim mishtachavim revachim, that they had plenty of room. And it says it was never in a krav or in a chash, a scorpion or snake. You couldn't find that in Yerushalayim. And no one ever complained that Yerushalayim was a narrow place. No matter when people would come on Aliyah L'Regel, everyone would come. Could you imagine? People were just coming. If you live in Yerushalayim, sometimes you feel it on Shavuot when everyone's walking to the Kotel. It's like an amazing feeling, but we can't even imagine what it was. From all around the country, people would be walking to Yerushalayim, and nobody ever felt like it was stuffy, like crowded, get me out of here, claustrophobic, chas v'shalom. So what is this? So these are tremendous nisim. These are just part of what was going on. We know during Shlomo HaMelech's time, the people had wealth. They were able to sit and enjoy and bask in the fruits of Eretz Yisrael and to have plenty and nothing was lacking. There was shalom, there was peace, there was no sickness. There's so many things that we look around today. There was no tragedy. There was no going off the path, unfortunately, we have today. It was just a very calm, smooth place to be, not only in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael. Today we have Yerushalayim, huh?
What does that mean? There have to be a mirror. So people bring chatas, like
the korbanot. Yeah.
So people did.
Yes, but I'm saying, but you did tshuva, and that was it. Do you know what I'm saying? You were able to move past it. Today, what do? Today we have zecher lachorban. We have to remember the destruction. How? In the simcha. When we feel simcha, we have to feel a little bit that my simcha is not complete. So we remember zecher lachorban, because there's no shlemut in our simcha. Our simcha is not complete. So we have to remember in every joyous occasion, we know at the wedding we break the glass, right? We know that at the Pesach Seder, at the end of Pesach Seder, we say, even though, we're sitting and eating and we're rejoicing, it's not complete because we still can't eat the Korban Pesach, right? We say, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, remember it. We remember it at the end of our benching, or in our benching, even throughout our benching. Remember it in our Shemona Esrei 3 times a day, right? Throughout everything that we do, we have a sign in our house that when we build our house and we don't complete it, we leave a portion of it as a remembrance that my simcha is not complete. Some people say that when you eat and drink, not to put on music because you want to a little bit feel like it's not the kavod, you want to feel the tsar, a little bit of the shechina, the zecher lechorban. Some say not to put on all your jewelry. So you keep one piece of jewelry not on, so it's also the time. We know during this time, I remember in camp, we say, so maybe that's something we should be doing during this time, not only because we're in camp, to say a little extra tehillim. And one of the things I feel like we can do is, in our davening, every time we daven and every time we bench, we say the words, Tivnei Yerushalayim, Ubnei Yerushalayim, depending on your nusach, right? Please help the Beit HaMikdash should be rebuilt, the Yerushalayim should be rebuilt. And we actually say that Hashem is rebuilding Yerushalayim every single day because what's going on? We have Yerushalayim. What do you mean? We don't need Hashem to rebuild it. He says every day He's building it. It says, V'nei Yerushalayim ircha. Hashem, you should rebuild Yerushalayim, your city. Which city? The city where the Kohanim and the Leviim were there. They were doing their avodah. They were singing their songs when it was in its completion. If you go to the Beit HaMikdash, to the Kotel today, by the tunnel tours, they have these virtual glasses that you put on, and you're looking as if you're in the Beit HaMikdash. If you haven't done it, you have to go see it. It's also, I think, in the Machon HaMikdash, a place where they have the museum for the Bet HaMikdash with different artifacts. It's like you have this virtual glasses that you put on and you feel like you're actually there. It's like awesome feeling. Like you look down, you look at the floor, and it's like you come out of there and it's like your tefillah is not the same because you're like, oh, like you just want it, you want it. But yet you come out and you see we still just have the kotel. We still just have the ruins. We still have the mosque over there, and the Kodesh HaKadoshim where our Holy of Holies is supposed to be. How come? If we're saying that Hashem rebuilds the city every day, Bonei Yerushalayim Yircha, and then we say at the end of the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, Bonei Yerushalayim, you're building. So I think it was Reb Schwab that said that the actual city in its glory, every single day Hashem is rebuilding. How? With our kavanot in our tefillah, with our mitzvot that we do. Whenever we do a chesed, whenever we do an act of kindness, we're building the Beit HaMikdash, we're causing more ahava between us. Ahavat Yisrael is what's going to take away the sinat chinam. And as we do, and they say, in camps, they build, like during this time, I think, remember, they build like a structure of the Beit HaMikdash, right? And they take, even in like school, sometimes they do it, like every mitzvah that you do, you write in a brick. So it's as if you're building the Beit HaMikdash. They put up another brick to form a beautiful Beit HaMikdash. And that's really what we're doing. We have to imagine that every time we do a chesed for somebody else, every time we look away when somebody does something wrong to us, every time we hold ourselves back from speaking negatively about ourselves, about others, about judging others unfavorably, we are causing that the Beit HaMikdash is being rebuilt. And when we say it in our tefillah, we should try to have more kavanah, more meaning to the words, because the more we have kavanah in the words, the more powerful it is. We give koach, so to speak, to the tefillah. Chazal, when they instituted the tefillah, it's one of the things I teach. All the tefillot are in a certain order, and there's power to each tefillah. Sometimes if you forget something, you're allowed to go back, or you're not allowed to go back, depending on what it is, because it's really important that all the words and the numerical value of the letters, everything has a lot of kedusha, has a lot of meaning. And so when we do that, when we say the words, and we have what's kavanah, kavanah is kivun, you're giving something direction. So imagine a spaceship, and in the spaceship, they have a special computer, and only whoever knows how to work that computer can get that spaceship to go up, to get to where it has to go, and to bring it down. There's a certain code he has to know. Like, you can't just go and press the button. It's not like, okay, fly up. So we too have a special code, and Chazal put that into the tefillah. And when we say the words and we give them meaning by having kavanah, by giving them direction, we cause them to actually be put into potential, to actualize, to actually have an effect in this world and in the next world.
Do you know why this college is so long now? Like, it just seems like we're such good people, really. Like, it just seems
right.
Like you're saying every mitzvah Hashem's rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash, and it's like, it just seems so long. Like, don't you ever feel like, what does Hashem want? Like, what?
Good question.
It just.
Good question. So my friend Shane here is asking, the galut is so long, and we're really so good. It can't be that, like we're so bad. Like, there's so much chesed, there is so much Torah, right? What is it that Hashem wants from us? What do you think Hashem wants from us? Why is this happening? Okay, somebody's saying here, more achdut, more unity, more of understanding the koach of who we are. I just heard Rabbi Jacobson speak. There was an amazing Geula summit. If you haven't heard it, there are replays going on now for the next week till Tisha B'Av. And with Shifra Chana Hendry, she's a very special person. And she had different speakers, and Rabbi Jacobson spoke, and he's spoken before. He says, we have to believe that each one of us has a tefkid, has a mission. And we're ambassadors of faith. We're literally ambassadors. Do we really view ourselves like that? I don't think so. I don't think that we look at ourselves as people who have tremendous kochot. And I always talk about the power of women. So this is my thing, like, we women have power, like, we don't realize it. But like women were the women were the ones, you look at the stories in Tanakh, throughout Tanakh, right? The women were the ones that saved the day, right? We think of Korach, the story of Korach on Ben Pelet, his wife went out and she revealed her hair so that her husband, wouldn't be influenced. You think of the women in the Midbar, how they didn't give their jewelry, right? We know that the women, what they gave was copper mirrors, that ended up being for the Kohanim, the Kedusha. The women didn't die out in the Midbar. The women lived. We spoke about Bnot Tzafchad, the women, that wanted the inheritance. And constantly we hear story after story. And really, do we feel that way? I don't know if we feel that we have a koach or enough, do we realize really how special our koach is, our power to be able to build, to be able to help our, I was talking about, the gatekeepers of the Bet HaMikdash, how when it says when the gates were given away, like that was it, the Bet HaMikdash was no longer there. We're the gatekeepers of our home. So one of the things I wanted to say is that when we are yearning, what we're yearning for is our home to be rebuilt, right? And we're yearning for that, but really we can create that, A, within ourselves, B, within our homes. It says, Vasuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. It doesn't say Vasuli mikdash, make for me a structure and I will rest in it. It says betocham, in them, right? And really, each person is a microcosm of a mini Bet HaMikdash, a small Bet HaMikdash. And our homes are mini Bet HaMikdash. We have yeshivas and shuls, and you're right. And there's so much chesed, and there's Torah going on. So why is it that we're still in galut? And we have to, each one of us has to sit during this time and say, why is it that I am still in galut? What is the galut that I'm in? There's a galut of loneliness. There's a galut of not having children. There's a galut of not having parnasa. Everybody has their galut that they're in. What's galut to Geula? How do we get from the galut to the Geula? We have the aleph. The letters Geula, Gimel, Aleph, Vav, Lamed, He. The letters of galut, Gimel, Lamed, Vav, or Gola, right? If I'll say without, it's the same as galut. Gola, right? Is exile. One letter. What's missing? The aleph of Echad, the oneness of what? The oneness of Hashem, bringing Hashem into our lives more. Do we think about when we do something, do we think about how much nachat Hashem is getting from doing this mitzvah? Do we think about that we're helping to rebuild? I think we minimize the mitzvot that we do, and we think, oh, what's the big deal if I do that? If I make a cake for her, you know what I mean? Like, okay, nice thing to do. It's not. Every little act of chesed is tremendous in the eyes of Hashem. And so that's the aleph of Hashem, and the aleph of achdut, of unity. And the unity is what's missing. It's like sometimes, you can do a mitzvah, and it's sort of like something we do, like we do by rote, like tefillah, I'm saying we daven, every day we daven. So it's like, I said the words, but if we put more meaning into it, and when we do a mitzvah for somebody else, do we put more meaning into it? Do we think about the other person? Are we caring in the same way that we want that for ourselves? And I think that that's what's missing. I think that people, we live in a society where technology has taken over. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do anything these days until you have this as an app, or you go online, like you can't talk to a representative, you know what I'm saying? You can't talk to a person. You have to, everything's computerized, and we're constantly on our phone, social media, and WhatsApp. It's constant. And it's bombarding us because it's becoming, I think Rabbi Wallerstein, Alav Shalom, used to talk about this. Like, we don't know how to disconnect from that. And in order to connect more with ourselves, with Hakadosh Baruch Hu, with our homes, with each other, we need to disconnect from the things that are distracting us. You know, how many times, you know, I know for myself, I'm guilty of it. You know, I'm talking to my daughter, she's like, Mom, Ima, you're looking at your phone, you know, like when you talk to somebody, put your phone down, you know, especially, I know there's some people that have a rule, they have a box, you put your phones away when you have dinner together. Family time is family time, no distractions. I don't know how many of us do that. It's like very hard to put your phone away or turn it off. It's like, that's already too much. You know, I remember Wallerstein tried to do that. He had a day of disconnect, you know, to connect to disconnect. So like try to put your phone away for that hour and dedicate that time with family or to Avodas Hashem or to something.
That's all beautiful and everything, but I feel like there has to be a bigger reason why Mashiach has not come. It just doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, I don't know a lot of stuff, but it's just like, yes, it's nice to connect with people, but years ago they didn't have smartphones. Like what happened before, you know?
You're right, but I think that we're,
how does Hashem even judge us? How do we even remember what we're missing? Like, it's very nice of you to tell us what we're missing. That's why I wrote it down. Like what are we missing? You know, why are we so, you know, brokenhearted that, you know, yes, I understand there's a connection, but I don't even know how Hashem judges us. Like, it's been so many thousands of years.
it is,
It's like,
it is, you
how do
know,
we know what we're missing?
how do we know what we're missing?
Yeah.
By learning more about what took place and what went on. You know, one of the things we're supposed to do on Tisha B'Av is read the Nevuot, you know, of Yirmiyahu. We sit and we lament and we cry. We read keynotes. We don't understand all of them. Yeah, and we read the story of Yirmiyahu, how he was like begging the people to do tshuva, and like they just laughed at him, you know, and they didn't believe that it was going to happen. We have to have more of an awareness. I think there has to be more of an awareness of what it is, like you're saying, what we lost, you know, what we lost and what we're yearning for, you know, why are we yearning for it and what we're yearning for, and not just like, let this time period pass and let's move on to the next Yom Tov, you know what I'm saying?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Up, you know, you don't really learn about, I mean, I guess maybe for Chabad, but you don't really learn about what's the ultimate goal in this world. It's not like just Shabbos, kosher,
Right.
this. Like, I think we just missed the boat with raising children today, not focusing on the Geula. Like, I guess that's the ultimate reason we're here.
I heard Rabbi Tzvi Sittner from Toronto. He speaks for Aish, and he said, "What are we mourning?" Exactly what you're saying, and what is it? What's going on now? And he said, you know, give him a mashal. There's a couple who's building a house, and they want a bigger house because, you know, Baruch Hashem, their family's growing, and they're building their house. And then a few years down the road, unfortunately, the couple got divorced, and there was no need for this house anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's no house. Like, forget about the house. We don't need this house anymore. And so the same thing he says is that, what are we mourning? Is that it's like, where's our house? You know, what house? Yeah, the potential. What house? You know what I'm saying? Can you live with this other person that you don't get along with? You know, could you just like spend time with them, the person that you haven't spoken to? I don't mean you, but I'm saying there are people who don't speak to each other in their own families. How many families have shalom bayit issues? You know, the brothers don't speak to each other, the parents don't speak to each other. It's like tremendous pain. So I don't know that we're there yet, but even just having that awareness that, you know, like, we're building towards something, but we still have to be b'achdut with each other. We have to still be one family, that I'm not really different than you. And oftentimes, you know, I spoke about this, you know, this concept of like, you have a clock, or as an example, right? You said that it has two hands. So can we take away one hand? No, one hand is telling us the minutes, one hand's telling us the hour. Oh, but one's smaller than the other one. This one's bigger. Are they going to be contending? No, they're totally different roles. They both are important. They both are needed to tell time. And we, you know, and the structure itself is the clock, and it's not going to be a clock without those two things. So we are part of one structure. We're part of one body. We're part of one soul. And every time we are, part of us is aching. It's not like, oh, let me, do you chas v'shalom cut away a finger, like, I don't need it. I don't know. Like, we need every part of your body. And if one is in pain, the whole body is aching. Do we really feel that way? Do we feel that way when there's somebody different than you? When, you think of somebody you've had resentment towards, it's like, can you now just like let it go? It's an avoda. It's something that we all have to be working on. And it's really a transformational process. We really need to change our perspective. We really need to have more of an awareness. And I say this story a lot of, the Israeli soldiers that came when the 6-Day War and they conquered the Kotel, and they stood by the wall, and there's, they're not religious. And one guy just starts crying. One soldier starts crying. He's secular. And he's like, his friend's looking at him like, Amata boche, what are you crying about? And he's saying to him, Ani boche al ma she'ani lo boche. I'm crying about the things that I don't even know what to cry about. Like, what am I looking at? To me, it's just a wall. And behind me is the kotel, and background of the kotel and my Zoom. So it's a wall, but like, what am I missing from this? And that's what we need to be maybe reading more about, learning more about, stories of what it was like. But if we just can imagine, somebody that is feeling some pain or going through a very difficult time, try to feel that, try to connect with that. That is a way for us to be able to connect with Hashem's pain, because we're all children of Hashem. Banim atem laHashem Elokechem. We're going to be reading that soon in the Parshios. And what's interesting? It says the Parshiot that we're reading during this time is Shaved Nechemta. It's like Parshiot of comfort. What do you mean? You're comforting me? Like, what are you comforting me? But really, Hashem doesn't want us to be in this pain. He wants to give to us what we deserve, what we need, what we want, what we yearn. But we have to show that we are yearning for it. We have to show that we want it. We have to put it in perspective, and we have to mourn for what could have been. Like this woman that we spoke about who wanted that child. It's like she was mourning for what could have been. And she says something beautiful. I'm going to read it. It says, expressing grief and loss and sadness during this time is not just an emotional outlet, she says. It's an opportunity for self-development. Because when we're feeling this pain, we're causing things to be able to change in us, in our perspective, in our mindset. And she said you can transform this time to a time of unity and harmony, shalom, shalva, with acts of kindness, and the opposite of sirat chinam, ahavat Israel. And one of the things I'm working on now is to bring this concept of imo anochi b'tzara, that I'm with him in pain. And the Shekhinah says this, that Hashem is with us in our pain. We go to a mourner, lo aleinu, and we say, Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar ve'let Zion Yerushalayim. Hamakom, the one that is everywhere, the omnipresent, means Hashem. Hashem is everywhere. Yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar ve'let Zion, with the mourners of Zion. Zion is synonymous with Yerushalayim. Why do we say that? Because Hashem is also in this pain, and He wants us to come to this, the potential that we could have, b'toch sha'ar ve'let Zion, that we're in the imo anochi b'tzara. And one of the things I want to work on is, like, when we hear other people's stories. A few years ago, we had a gathering on Tisha B'Av. A lot of women joined me in an organization called Lev Ha'am. And we joined together, and a few women spoke and gave chizuk. But what was more powerful, we spent a few hours, I think it was like 3-4 hours on Zoom, where women were sharing different challenges that they're going through, special needs and sick children and shidduchim, and just sharing with one another. And that gave comfort to everybody. They stayed on the Zoom like it was, like, okay, you have nothing to do on Tisha B'Av, but still, like, to stay on the Zoom on a fast day, because everybody wants to feel like it's not just me going through this. It's not just me. You mean you also have pain? And that's what Hashem tells us. We have to feel that we feel the pain for your loss. And I think when we can get to that level of that feeling, then Hashem is Bonei Yerushalayim. He's going to constantly be rebuilding it. I want to touch upon this point also, that it's a sensitivity. We have to learn to be more sensitive. Like I said before, technology it's like desensitizes us, because all we do is we send the message. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's the human interaction? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is that? There are people that during Corona, we felt this much more, that it's like, you're alone, you're in the house, bidud, like to be alone, boded. We're not alone. Today, Baruch Hashem, we have Zoom and we have so many other mediums to getting together, and Baruch Hashem, we're able to see each other live, and there's no masks and there's nothing stopping us, and Baruch Hashem, we're able to have that back. But do we really have it back? Do we really have that back? Do you know what I'm saying? Do we really feel the closest to one another? Are we really connecting? Are we being sensitive, to the nuances, the little things that matter? And if we, just as we are sensitive as the physical pain, we also have to feel the spiritual pain. The lack of, you're saying there is Torah, but there's so many, unfortunately, kids that are so lost today, that feel unloved, that are turning to other avenues to feel this love, and if that's still happening, and this is Rabbi Wallerstein, Alav Shalom, this was his big thing. If there's a kid there on the street that's in pain and does not feel loved, that means that I need to be doing something about it. That means there's something missing in me. And he would spend days, nights, mornings, there's no time for him. Parents would call him all hours of the night, of kids at risk, kids on drugs, kids, unfortunately doing crazy things. And they were at a loss. They were like, who's going to help us? Now, especially after he's not here, it's like such a loss to Klal Yisrael. Really wanted to spend a shiur just speaking about him. I remember calling him one time, and I don't know, maybe it was 9:00 in the evening. He said, call me later. I'm like, okay, Rabbi, when's later? Like for him later, He said, call me after 12. Like, who says that? You know what I mean? People are going to sleep. Like, what do you mean? And I remember he said the story over one night. He was out till really late at night. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. He finally got into his bed. He was like, oh, he wanted to sleep so badly, and he's about to go to sleep, and his phone's buzzing. And, there were a lot of people who needed him, and he didn't just turn off his phone. By the way, he didn't even have a smartphone. He had a regular kosher phone, with all that he did. He had a regular, simple phone. That was his thing. So he was about to go to sleep, and he just said, oh my gosh, like the phone's ringing now, like what now? And he picks it up, and it's Hatzalah. And they're saying, hi, we have one of your students here, and she overdosed. He's like, okay, take her to the hospital. She's like, no, she refuses to go to the hospital if you don't come. He's like, what? It's like, no, try to get her to go to the hospital. She's like, no, she's not going. She said she refuses to go unless you come. And he's like thinking in his head, like, oh gosh, like, I just wanted a few hours, and he's like, okay, I'll be ready in a few minutes. And they're like, no, we're here already. We're downstairs in your garage, your park. He's like, we're here. But he's like, what? And he thought he had like time to like, a few more minutes to, and then he just went and he got into the ambulance, and, and they rushed into the hospital, and he tells this story over to the EMT in the ambulance, that, he was thinking, at the beginning he was like, leave me alone. Let me just go to sleep. Like I've been busy a whole day with this stuff, all these things that are happening. And yet he sat there in the ambulance and he looked at the whole story, everything. And he said, Baruch Hashem, that I'm on this end and that I'm able to support someone. I'm not on the stretcher. And he just like appreciated that for a minute. And also Baruch Hashem that I'm able to help somebody else. But what was amazing about this, somebody was telling over the story, I think it was Rabbi Citron, and he was saying that like he was able to switch from like, why are you waking me up? I want to get some sleep. Just a few minutes later, and be able to change the perspective to understand that to be in gratitude and to help this person, and that person needs me, I'm able to be there for her. How many of us do that? Like how many of us are able to sort of be in that mode, being able to switch like that of like, oh, I don't want to do this, and yet be able to look at it in a positive state of mind and see the good in it, and it was just telling the story to see the sensitivity of who he was, but also to see his greatness, that no matter what, he's able to see the good in it and to have that sensitivity. I want to read something to you. It's on in a book called Why We Weep. A little bit of what we're talking about. He says more dangerous was the destruction of the barrier between the Jews and the Goyim. Jews and Gullahs are no longer isolated from outside influence. The avelut of Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is the loss of this wall, the barrier that protected Kedushat Yisrael. We live in a time of intense danger. But Tibaka Ha'ir, we live as never before in a world. The Tibaka Ha'ir means the city should be breached. We live in a world which there is no wall protecting a Jew. The avelut that we feel in the 3 weeks is not an avelut for something. Avelut means mourning. It's not a mourning for something that happened long time ago. This is what I wanted to say. It's avelut, it's mourning that constantly is intensifying. Certainly in the last decade, the infiltration of all the negativity of the influence of the Goyim and the Tum'ah in a Jewish home, it's all intensified. So they lived, just skip 1 second. It says in America, we don't live in ghettos, but at least we have the walls of our homes protecting us. And now, however, the walls of our homes are not even sufficient protection anymore because the influence of the internet and the Jewish home, all this is something that's also been infiltrating our homes. So I think that's something we spoke about as being the gatekeepers. We really have to understand that there's so much going on in the world. What are we doing to protect ourselves? What are we doing to build our walls? Our home is a mikdash mad. It's a miniature Bet HaMikdash. And what are we doing to not allow those walls to be breached? And the fact that our children are suffering, and I mean our children, somebody else is going through this issue with their child. It's my child. It's my issue. And we can't separate that. So what are we doing about that? If everybody would just take upon themselves something, then we would be living in a different world, and I think one of the things that we do is we're in judgment of other people, who are maybe going through these things. Maybe they did something, maybe something went wrong with the system, this, that. We like to blame things. I think we all have to take something upon ourselves to say, like, how is it that I can improve it? What is it that I can do? To start in my own home, and then also to reach outwards to the cloud. I think it's important that we each spend a little bit of time, like really doing this work during these times, during this, it's not in 3 weeks anymore. We're coming to a couple of weeks left that, we have an opportunity during this time to introspect and to be a little bit alone with ourselves. I think people are afraid also to be alone with themselves because they're afraid of what they're going to see. And they're afraid of, these feelings of guilt or whatever else that comes up, and shame. And I think we have to realize, no, we're great. We're amazing. We have to pump ourselves up. Like you said, we're doing so much chesed. You're a great mom. You're a great, role model. You're a great wife. But what is it that I can do to improve? And it really doesn't have to be in major things. We don't have to now change the world. But every small act really is machriya the kaf. And one of the things the Rambam says in tshuva, and to realize, is that when I do tshuva, I'm able to tip the scale. And what I do affects somebody in, Hawaii, in Europe, somewhere across the world. Because there are Jews, unfortunately, today that don't even know what it means to be a Jew. There are people that don't understand what it means, Shema Yisrael. I remember I was once volunteering for Lev Le'achem, And I remember the story that he came and told us that, there are Jews that live in Israel that unfortunately don't have a concept of what it means Shema Yisrael. What do you mean Shema Yisrael? This is like we live, this is our motto, This is what we say. No, there are Jews that don't even know what that is. And you could laugh and whatever, but that's the truth. It's like, and how many Jews around the world are lost and don't have a concept of, keeping this to the faith. They're intermarrying, and rejecting the faith and not having any connection to it. We think that we're a majority. We're really a minority of a minority. You know what I'm saying? And, there are also non-Jews that are even keeping the Noahide laws, and trying to come closer. And sometimes there are amazing stories of even non-Jews that convert. They end up bringing back Jews, they're bringing them closer. I think we have to be asking something very important. And I'm going to share a little bit, and maybe the next time we'll talk about this also. We read Eicha. We read the story of Yirmiyahu during the time of Yerushalayim when he was trying to get the people to come back and to understand what is it they were doing that was causing this destruction, and that the destruction was about to come upon them. And he says, Eicha yashva badad ha'ir, like if you start reading a lot of the prakim, the chapters start with this word, Eicha. How could it be? If we switch the nikudot around, it reminds us of a different time that we were asked this. Right? In the time of the Bereshit, at the beginning of time, when Adam Rishon sinned and Hashem told him, Ayeka, the same letters, Aleph, Yud, Kaf, Hey, where are you? And this is something I feel that we can ask ourselves. It's not only my thing, I was reading it. Ayeka, where are you? Where are you spiritually? Where are you? What are you committed to? Where are you in your avodat Hashem? Where are you in your avodah shebalev, in your tefillah? Where are you in your ben adam lechavero? And today we're asking the question, Tzipita leYeshua, one of the things we're going to be asked at the end of days, did you hope and yearn for the Geula? Did you wait? Did you await it? And we say this in our tefillah, right? V'tzemach David avdecha, right? That we yearn for David HaMelech, and we say it. But how many times do we think about what we're saying? So maybe during these few weeks is to have more of a kavanah of what it is I'm saying. Pick up an art scroll, look at the English. I wanted to spend more time talking about the actual tefillah. I'll share with you a little bit. But really to have this yearning of what it means, the galut, the gola, to geula. How am I going to add that aleph? The aleph of Hashem, the aleph of achdut, that's between me and man and between me and Hashem. Both things are important. And let's talk about a little bit with the tefillah. It says, that we ask Hashem, this is Rav Schwab, Yerushalayim Ircha, the tefillah of Bonei Yerushalayim. We ask Hashem to have a zchut, to witness his return to the city. Which city? Ircha, like we said, your city, when the majority of the people of Yerushalayim are going to be truly serving you, Hashem. That's what we're saying. It says, Yiru enenu ve'ismach libeinu ve'tagel nafshenu. That's when we're going to feel the joy, the simcha. Our eyes are going to see it, and our heart is going to rejoice, and we're going to feel the simcha. B'yeshuatcha be'emet, when you're truly, truly going to be redeeming us. What's this real Yeshua? What's this Yeshua that we're talking about? That we can't live without your Yeshua. We can't live without your Yeshua. Which Yeshua? Be'emet. Be'emor leTzion malach Eloaich, he says. When the rule of Hashem will be evident in Tzion, when Hashem's rule will be clear to everyone that Hashem, it says, we say this in Aleinu L'Shabeach, when everyone's going to know what it means that Hashem is ruling this world, and not this government and that government and this politician and that, like what's going on today, contending for all that. It says, "V'tishkon betocha," not only when Hashem rebuilds it, but when when Hashem is actually dwelling in it. When Hashem will dwell in Yerushalayim, it says that we want it to be a permanent dwelling, a permanent rebuilding. When the korbanot are going to be resuming and we're bringing it to the mizbeach, then it will become a permanent place. And it says that you could really potentially bring korbanot, but because we don't know the place to bring the korbanot, we need a navi to tell us where that place is, so we can't bring korbanot. That's when it's going to be the time when Hashem's going to dwell amongst us, and it will become a permanent dwelling of the presence of Hashem. Uvnei ota bekarov beyameinu. We don't want it just to be rebuilt sometime, in the future. We want it to be in our days, in our lifetime. I want to be zoche veroeh b'simchata. That Hashem tells us we should be zoche to see it, right? And it says that one of the things it says, either Hashem will bring it down or we're going to, help to rebuild it. That's what we want. We want Hashem to actually bring it down. We want it to be rebuilt already. And Yeshayahu tells us, binyan olam, what kind of rebuilding? It says it will be rebuilt using sapphires, rubies, precious stones, chomot esh saviv, like a fiery wall. Sorry, the first one is with the stones, the sapphires, the rubies. And the second one we're talking about is chomot esh saviv, like a fiery wall. Hashem will rebuild it through fire, like he destroyed it by fire. That's one of the things. And the third thing is the mikdash is going to come down, like we said, from Shamayim, fully built. That all of the building blocks, the diamonds, the rubies, all those things that we put in. What are those rubies and diamonds? What? The mitzvot, the tefillot that we uttered with kavanah, the benching, the kiddush that we made, everything that we did, that's going to help to bring it down from Shamayim. So again, the first one was to rebuild it using like actual sapphires, rubies, beauty of the Bet HaMikdash. That's from the Navi Yeshayahu. That's binyan olam. The second one is chomot esh saviv, like a fiery wall that will be rebuilt, that like Hashem destroyed, he's going to build it with fire. And the third one is that it will come down fully rebuilt because of our avodah. What are we asking for? We're asking Hashem to prepare the throne of David for its placement in Yerushalayim. And who will come from David? Mashiach. He's a direct lineage of David HaMelech, Mashiach, the Messiah. Some say the neshama of David HaMelech even. And he will be reincarnated, it says, into Mashiach, according to some opinions. And what do we say? Baruch atah Hashem, bonei Yerushalayim, in the hoveh, in the present tense. Like we said before, it's an ongoing process throughout the Galut that Hashem is building the foundation. It says that all the things that happen in our history laid the foundations for the binyan of Bet HaMikdash. And like I mentioned to you, this mashal of like when you have a huge structure that's being built, you're gonna see the foundation. It's gonna look like this huge hole. It's gonna look like a gap, in the floor, and it's not gonna look like there's anything there. But that the bigger the hole, the bigger the structure, right? So that's what he's saying to us, that Hashem will be continuously building it since he's been continuously building it since the Churban. And this we should see actually as a nechama. We should see this as a comfort. Like I mentioned before, is that he didn't want to destroy it, stam, zeo, done. He could have destroyed it and that's it and never get rebuilt. But the fact that Hashem gives us a promise that it will be rebuilt is already a nechama, is already a comfort. And actually one of the things that we say in the tefillah, in this tefillah of Bnei Yerushalayim during Tisha B'Av is nachem. Nachem, the tefillah of nachem, the tefillah of to be comforted. Maybe we'll speak about that next time, of how Hashem is comforting us. When we're reading this specific tefillah, we're supposed to add that on Tisha B'Av, on the day that it's burning. We're getting nechama from Hashem. We're getting comforted by Hashem. And like we said before, there's 21 days. Really, there's 3 sets of 21 days. One is from Shiva Asar B'Tammuz until Tisha B'Av. Those are 21 days. And then there's 21 days from Tisha B'Av till Elul. And then from Elul, to Rosh Hashanah, right? From Rosh Hashanah till, maybe it's from 1 second, let me see if I wrote it down. Tisha B'Av till Rosh Chodesh Elul. And from Rosh Hashanah till Hoshana Rabbah. Those are the 3 times. And why 3 times? It's a chazakah. Rav Lev explains that it's like when you do something 3 times, you give it more strength. And so if we learn the lesson inherent in this time period, in this mourning, in the aval, in the regret, right? In the regret is really the yearning, then we can reach the 21 days from Tish'a B'Av to Rosh Chodesh Elul, and then we'll come to the 21 days from Rosh Hashanah to Hoshana Rabbah, which will bring us to Simchat Torah, to be able to have the celebration. So Tish'a B'Av is really in sort of in the middle, you know what I'm saying? And so we have to utilize this time to be able to, not just mourn and think, oh, what is it that I lost? But what is it that I'm yearning for? And, like when you look forward to the summer, right? You're like counting down the days, you know what I'm saying? So like here, we're also in a way counting down the days to the Geula. We're not looking at just like in pain, but in pain with like a yearning, a desire, chukah, a wanting to be closer to Hashem, a wanting to have it rebuilt, not just for us, for all of Am Yisrael, for all the tzarot that we're going through, that's going to be taken away. And that it's going to be a time when the revelation of Hashem is going to be so clear. Umala aretz dat Hashem, the world will be filled with the knowledge and understanding of what it is that Hashem wants from us. That's what we're missing these days. Nobody knows what they're here for. Everyone's like, what am I doing here? Like,
so how can we be planned? I was just going to ask you, like, it's so unclear. We don't have any answer to that.
Right.
So hard.
We each have to do our avodah. We actually have what's called dat. We have a consciousness, and we have to connect to that consciousness. And we have to have, of course, leaders. We have rabbanim. We have people who guide us. I said charav, and we have the Torah. And we have things that give us the opportunity to understand it. The question is if we're tapping into it and we're connecting. It's very easy to see it from afar. It's much harder when it's put into action. It's like, now I have to do something. What is it that I am going to do? We can't, some people take this and be like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. I can't, like it's all on my shoulders. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should look at it as a zchut. We should look at it as an opportunity that what I do matters. I don't think we believe that. I don't think that we truly understand that when we do something, it can cause the scale to tip. That we can affect Klal Yisrael. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in the power that we have. The emunah, we didn't speak about that. The emunah that we hold so tightly onto, that we're believers. We're ma'aminim, right? Ma'aminim, bnei ma'aminim, rachmanim, gomlei chasadim. That's the midot of the Jews. But we have to hold on because we are the M. We are the M. We are the mothers. We are holding on to the emunah. Now when things look so bleak, during Corona, it was like, what's going to be? And you look how it just like dissipated, like you ever wonder like where'd it go? And it was not just them. It was like we held on. We were holding on. We were not going to let go. Some people maybe did. Unfortunately, people got very down and anxious and caused a lot of anguish for a lot of people. Broke a lot of homes also. But if we held on to that, we're holding on to it now with so much happening in the world. You look at the recession, you look at, war and like this sickness, and we can just make a list, from here to Hopkinsville. But if we understand that when we do one thing, it's like a chain effect that leads to another good thing, another good thing, another good thing. And we have to realize the koach that we have, the power that we have. Hashem still holds us close as his children. So we're yearning to be closer. We're yearning to be better. We're yearning to have back what we were missing and to feel that closeness, to feel that closeness, because we still are thinking that we're distant, Hashivenu Hashem Elecha, Hashem return us. That's what we say on Tisha B'Av. Hashivenu Hashem Elecha v'nashuv, at the end of Eicha. Please return us to you, right? V'nashuva, we will want to return. And we should be zocheh to really believe in this, to believe in ourselves, to believe in the koach of what we're able to do, and that we can make an effect in the world, and to yearn, utilize this time to connect with a certain tefillah, to truly, really, really think about the words, make a, even if it's before the tefillah, sometimes it's harder during the tefillah. Underlining, highlighting it, making a siman to remind yourself, putting something maybe on your bracelet, like just something as a reminder, try to do things during this time to sort of make more of a consciousness and an awareness of what this time period is, especially the 9 days. I remember being in someone's house. I think I was in seminary, and the father was saying, no, we're not going to do that during this week. It was something like some fun, I don't remember what it was, a fun activity. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that this week. And I'm like, why not? He's like, oh, it's the 9 days. We're trying to minimize the fun activity. It's okay. We don't always have to have fun. The 9 days, we have to think about a little bit for Hashem. That's like a tremendous level. I don't know if we're all like that. We're all like, oh, we can't go swimming. Oh, we can't take a hot shower. Like complaining. I think we have to focus on why we're doing this. And when that's our focus, it's like, what wouldn't we do for Hashem? What wouldn't we do for our friend who's suffering? It's like, we're not going to think, like when you're mourning, you're not thinking like, like, I want to change my clothes. Like, you're not thinking about that. You know what I mean? Like, let's do laundry. Like that's not on your mind. Believe me, Lo Aleinu, we should know from this, but that's what we're supposed to be feeling, a little bit of that mourning, to have more of an awareness of what this time period is all about. And the more you feel it, then you yearn. Then you want to have, I know what I don't want to have. So I want to yearn for a better time. The Chazon, right? Chazon Yeshayahu in the Haftarah. So we should be Zocha Be'ezrat Hashem to have this awareness, and we should be Zocha Be'ezrat Hashem that it should bring us to the Geula, the Gola to the Geula, where we bring the oneness of Hashem. We should Zocha to see the true Geula, the Binyan Bet HaMikdash Me'era Be'ameinu, Amen. We should be Zocha to Lirot B'Simchata V'Binyana Be'ezrat Hashem. Thank you so much for letting me share. Any questions, comments? He talks about the vision.
What Mashiach's going to be.
Yeah.
Really?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit of like the Geula. Any questions? Thank you so much, ladies, for staying on with us. I appreciate you being here. There is going to be a recording. I'm going to share it on my WhatsApp group. If you've connected to my WhatsApp group, if not, I'm going to put in the chat here my phone number, and you can message me, and I'll send you the recording.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please take some stuff.
It smells yummy.
Please take some home.
Yeah, I need a little back. I'm gonna take that coffee with my husband.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a bag.
Okay.
Thank you so much. There's no questions. Thank you so much for joining. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm gonna also post another share that I'm gonna be giving next week. So please join me again. Take care. 1 second.